Email stories an issue in early presidential states like Iowa. CBS News political director John Dickerson spent the weekend there talking with party leaders and voters. This morning, he is back in Washington. John, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
So why the silence, and how much is it hurting?
Well, it's hurting because in the silence, there's nothing but bad news. There's stories of gaps in emails. There's Democrats coming out and saying Hillary Clinton should talk. So just for the coming Hillary campaign, it's news that they don't have control over. And also, it gets in the way of that campaign. Usually, you try to put out fires before a campaign so you can have a clean launch. You don't set fires on the launch pad. And then finally, the news that is the original response from the Clinton spokespeople was that she complied with the spirit and the letter of the law at the time. Now reports have come out that neither the letter nor the spirit was followed. So there needs to be something to replace all of that bad news.
So who's giving her advice to stay silent, and why is she staying silent?
Well, I think the reason you stay silent in this case is that the thinking is that this story, once you get into a transparency fight, you can never be transparent enough. So the story perhaps goes away, and you know the press moves on because it has a white-hot interest in stories and then gets a new fascination. And also, by the way, there's not a campaign, even though they're preparing for one, there's not a campaign structure. So it's unless she did a sit-down interview, or if she did a sit-down interview, you'd have to have a campaign structure behind it to field the stories that would then grow out of that.
Senator Schumer said over the weekend that this is really just going to be a hiccup as time goes on. Do you think that's true?
Well, if a campaign is launched and a campaign has a message and the campaign begins, and then perhaps that's true. I think the fact that there's investigators out there and now you have Democrats saying that there are legitimate questions being raised, it does give this the chance to live on. And then we never know what's in those actual emails. Once those get out, then everybody will be reacting to the actual content.
John, you were in Iowa. Jeb Bush was also in Iowa. How did he do?
Well, it was his first trip to Iowa. He made it clear that he'd been there before. He was well received. He's got some skepticism among conservatives in Iowa. But from that first visit, it looks like he's going to play heavily in Iowa. And that's interesting, and we'll see him go back to the state a lot more.
Thank you, John Dickerson.